Reaction. Let's welcome an adjunct professor at Montclair State University, Dan Geltrude. Dan, let's just dive right into this one. Okay, so during the debate, Trump took aim at Biden's handling of the labor market, saying he's taking credit for jobs just naturally returning during the pandemic and only provided jobs for illegal immigrants. Take a listen.
The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Okay, so Dan, actually, I want to jump back to something that Biden said earlier. He said that unemployment under Trump was 15%. CNN ended up actually being the ones to fact check him. When Biden took office, it was only 6.4% unemployment. Where is Biden coming up with these numbers, and what do you make of Trump's comments?
Well, I think he's just making them up as he goes along. I think everything that the people saw last night speaks for itself, and we should take it at face value. He said what he said. Look, you and I have spoken many times related to the job situation, and throughout the pandemic, it was always about jobs being recovered, not jobs being created. You can't underestimate the impact that the pandemic had on the economy. Donald Trump did not cause that. You may want to say he did, but he simply didn't. So it's really all about what the reactions were to the pandemic. Now, as we look at specifically Trump's comments about illegal aliens taking jobs, well, I think that's how a lot of Americans feel. They feel that the opportunities that illegals are given are far greater than those of Americans, as well as the type of treatment that they're getting. And I think a lot of people do feel that way.
Yeah, Dan, and it's not just a feeling, because it came out last week that Biden was implementing that new D3 work visa program for 100,000 illegals that would take jobs from college graduates that would go to those illegals because they can get less wages. And not only that, when it comes to jobs returning under Biden, a whopping 25% of those jobs were government jobs. And not only that, 7,000 new jobs were IRS agents. So those have got to be included in the numbers. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. We got to talk about inflation. That was obviously another massive talking point last night. Although Biden admitted it was at a record low, he tried to spin it saying the economy was in shambles. Now, while the pandemic obviously did cause some economic hurdles under Trump, we actually saw paychecks grow at a faster rate than inflation, and the stock market grew despite those lockdowns. Okay, CNN once again had to fact check Biden when it came to inflation. Talk about how high it was. It was about 1.25% when he was inaugurated in January of 2021. Again, the numbers coming out of nowhere. What do you make of Biden's comments when it came to inflation?
I think when you look at inflation, you have to look at where it was when Biden took office and where it grew to. And over those 3.5 years, the accumulation of inflation, not year over year, because that's misleading, and those are the numbers that get thrown out there. When you look at where we were to where we are, you're talking about inflation growing by 20%. And again, we could throw those numbers out there to everyone, but it's about what people are feeling when they go to the grocery store, when they try to buy anything. They see where the prices are, and those prices are hurting them. So you can do all you want. You cannot tell people how they feel and what they see, no matter how much you spin it.
Yeah, people are seeing it with their eyes. We've got to talk quickly about Medicare. So one of the most iconic moments last night was when Biden was fumbling over his words before he said he beat Medicare. Take a listen, Dan.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
Now, Dan, of course, obviously, we can talk all day about the stumbling, the pausing, but he also has to be fact-checked. He said that he capped insulin under Medicare at $15, $35. Again, not only that, $200 cap on spending in Medicare. It's not $200, it's $2,000. Again, he can't even get his numbers correct. What do you make of Trump's comments in regards to Medicare?
Well, that was an astonishing moment. And if you look at Donald Trump's body language while Joe Biden was speaking, he was stunned because he didn't really understand what he was saying. I think what Joe Biden was trying to say is simply that there is negotiating with Medicare over drug prices with pharmacy companies. And I think Trump was right to turn around and say, well, your facts are wrong. So what are you really doing here to help out the Medicare situation? So, again, I think it speaks for itself what each candidate was saying about Medicare.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, Trump came with the facts. Dan Geltrude, we could talk all day about this, but unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Always a pleasure having you on.
Thanks, Alex.